It looks like Horizon Zero Dawn is finally out in the wild. I'm sorry for that stupid, awful pun, but gameranx is here to bring you 10 things you need to know when starting a new game. Starting off at number 10, the first thing you need to know and grasp is how fast travel works, because Horizon Zero Dawn is a massive game with a pretty damn huge map. Something that I do like that does make the game a bit more challenging is that fast travel isn't an infinite commodity. It's something that you have to choose and spend very carefully. First, you can only fast travel to locations with campfires that you've discovered around the world. You can't fast travel to a place unless you've actually already been there. If you want to travel anywhere and you want to click fast travel on the map, you need to spend a fast travel pack. These are craftable packs that you'll come across in your journey, or also you can purchase from merchants. But it's a good idea to always make sure you have a few. They're not crazy expensive, but they are something you can burn through, and you have to be mindful of that. Purchasing them from merchants does cost some of your good crafting ingredients, so definitely be mindful of how much you want to fast travel. Later on in the game, without spoiling anything, you get the option to obtain a golden fast travel pack, which requires a lot of hunting down specific items, but once that becomes available to you, you should absolutely get it, because then you can fast travel wherever you want without costing you a thing. And at number 9, something you need to know, one of the biggest things you will always pick up in the game, one of the biggest loot drops, is attribute mods. You're going to come across a lot of these, and they're going to give you a lot of different things in terms of powering your weapons or your outfits, giving you a variety of different things like a percentage point resistance to melee damage or freeze damage or fire damage, to also being able to give your weapons and abilities bonuses for different types of damage and resistance as well. The biggest thing I can give you for these, now you do have a limited space in your bag to keep these, but it's a good idea to save your best attribute mods for later. Most specifically on your outfits. You're only going to come across and buy a few outfits in the game, especially if you save up and try and buy the best ones, and those have limited slots. Now, each time you equip a mod to a weapon or an outfit, it's there forever, and basically you can't get it back for most of the game. These slots are very limited and highly selective, but I definitely recommend for outfits especially saving attribute mods for later, because if you use your best ones on your best outfits, you can max out your character to an incredible degree. If you have the stealth-based outfit and you add mods that give you, for example, something like 20% extra stealth, you'll be practically invisible, and that's awesome. And speaking of stealth, at number 8, let's talk about some of the skill tree abilities that you should lock first and foremost. Number 1, the first thing you should get as soon as you can is stealth takedowns. Upon playing early in the game and hiding in the brush, when a creature walks up to you, you might find something a little missing with the fact that you can't really always take them out. That seems like a no-brainer type of ability that you would automatically have, but you have to unlock that through the skill tree. The stealth takedown is then going to be your best friend, and you're going to be using it and abusing it for the majority of the game. Speaking of using and abusing, especially if you're a stealth-oriented character, which most of you should be, you should definitely unlock the lure ability as soon as you can. That's another way to lure enemies closer to you so then you can stealth kill them safely. That seems like a no-brainer, but I've seen a lot of people gloss over that ability. And at number 7, something you need to know is you have to seek out cauldrons, because the game doesn't initially really tell you about them. Keep your eye out on the map. You can find these marked on your map after you ride a tall neck to clear the fog of map of an area. But don't worry, when you climb that tower of a creature to unlock the map, you don't really unlock an overwhelming amount of things to do on the map. The cauldrons especially, they're only a few, but you have to pay attention to them. They pop up like little blue mountains on your map. The cauldrons are interesting, contained little gameplay dungeon areas that upon completion grant you mastery of a new type of beast, which leads to my next point. At number 6, you need to know that overrides are your friend. Literally, your friend. The first override you get in the game is the ability to sneak up on a small mount animal and then override them so then they become your friend and you can ride them over long distances. Often in the game when you're sneaking around and hunting new monsters, you probably hear Aloy say how she wishes she knew how to override these creatures, and going to those cauldrons I told you about give you the abilities to override more beasts. While you can't use override to ride any single dinosaur robot you want, you can use overrides to temporarily control some beasts and get them to fight on your behalf. And especially if you're the type of player who plays very slowly and scouts out and tackles an objective, is the best first line of defense. It's a great way to weaken an enemy and discover its vulnerabilities and keep it distracted while you set traps or just continue to plan. The robot creatures you fight in the game are pretty terrifying, but it's really nice to have them on your side sometimes. And at number 5, you need to know that pouches are the most valuable aspects to upgrade. If you're spending crafting components on anything other than ammo, you should absolutely spend them on upgrading your pouches ASAP. Because in Horizon Zero Dawn, there's stuff to collect all over the place. There's treasure chests, there's collectibles, there's animal hide, there's meat, there's plants, and then of course all the loot that the robot dinosaurs drop. You're gonna want all that stuff for a steady supply of health potions, bombs, and of course, like I mentioned, fast travel packs. But pretty early on, you're gonna come across the fact that these pouches aren't big enough, and you're potentially gonna have to drop valuable stuff. We face this type of problem in any type of RPG game, but thankfully, if you're smart and you craft right, you can upgrade these things early. And then you can carry much more to your heart's content, and it's gonna help you in the long run. And at number 4, a tip related to that I can definitely recommend, especially starting out as an early player, since you're going to want to upgrade early and often, and you're going to want to craft a lot. Hunt those random little pedestrian animals walking around. You know, early in the game, you might be running around and focusing on the big picture, the robot dinosaurs, right? Those are your focus. That random boar over there, or that little bunny rabbit, or that fox running through the forest is just complete fodder, right? Well, not exactly. It turns out they have some of the most useful crafting components that you're going to need throughout a good portion of the game. So basically kill every wild boar, every bird, every bunny, every fish you see. I know that sounds absolutely ruthless and terrible, but you're gonna need the stuff that they have. And at number 3, speaking of crafting, you should use the create job system to your advantage to speed up getting faster gear. Like I said, you're going to want to get that gear as soon as you can because you're going to want to start using your well-earned attribute mods to the best of their ability. You can use the create job feature on the merchant's buy sell screen to create an errand task right in your quest menu. Set that little quest as active and it will guide you to the machines you need to hunt to get the necessary components to get the thing, as well as, and most importantly, being properly notified when you pick up something that you need. It's a handy, helpful, organized little feature, and there's so many menus and so many quests and stuff in Horizon Zero Dawn that this is going to keep you a little more focused from time to time. And at number 2, in terms of combat and encounters, you will not succeed without scanning at all. Clicking R3 is something you need to get used to because you're going to be doing it often. In the game, when you see a big creature, you should immediately hide, use R3 to use your focus scanner, and then plot out all the weaknesses and weak points of a creature. There's going to be quite a few different sections and weak points, and each of them are different in terms of how hard they are to hit or how easy they are to hit, and not only that, they each have their own resistance and attributes and weaknesses. In terms of elemental afflictions, like if you want to knock off a gun on a robot, the armor piercing or fire attribute may work best. You need to pay attention to these things and use them to your advantage, or else you're not going to be very useful stacked up against a creature. You don't have to be the type of player that really loves to use and embrace traps, but it's definitely going to help you out. And regardless, treat it like something like The Witcher, where you need to use all your tools before going in properly. Use those resistance potions and buff yourself, and really calculate which arrow, which weapon, and which tool you need to use to tackle which weakness first. Because some of the bigger battles with larger creatures can turn out to be an all-out grind fest unless you properly plan. And at number 1, this one might be obvious, but it's important because there's a lot here. If you're the type of person that likes to hunt all the collectibles in the games, maps are going to be your friend. There's like 60-something collectibles to be found across Horizon Zero Dawn. Now you can go and slowly pour your way through the in-game map, scouring the areas manually by yourself, picking things up, or thankfully, you can just buy a map. To start collecting stuff like metal flowers, Banuk figures, ancient vessels, and vantages, just go to the merchant in the Hunter's Gathering settlement. That's where we initially found it, but it seems like you can find map sellers at most places. Under his special items tab, you'll find 4 maps for sale. These maps will reveal all the collectibles to you. If you're the completionist type, that might be good for you, but if you really like the thrill of the chase, you may want to avoid this because it makes it very easy. But these are available to purchase pretty early on in the game, and they're not that expensive as you would expect, and they're definitely going to help you do the job. So those are some things we think you need to know when jumping into a new game of Horizon Zero Dawn. It's a fun, challenging, and pretty surprisingly deep game, and we know there's a lot of other first-time players who haven't maybe even played this type of genre of game before, who might feel a little left out in the cold. So if you have been playing Horizon Zero Dawn and you have some other tips for players, definitely let them know down in the comments. We want to hear from you guys. But you guys know how this works. Clicking the like button helps us out a ton, and we really appreciate it. And subscribing is a great idea because we put out videos like this every single day. But as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.